from wherever you are. I repeat emphatically, my name is Smart Mado Ajaja, the convener of Open Nigeria and Africa Unite, and also the anchor of Nigeria Now at ONN and the Nightingale Radio International, broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, United States of America. The people of the world, the people of Nigeria, the people of Africa, how are you all doing? TikTok, I've not been around for a while. Coming back, to get back on the groove. And YouTube, thank you very much, for your usual support. I appreciate you guys. If you are just joining, please do us a favor because what we are going to be talking about is a very, very important issue, as it affects Nigeria. Nigeria is on the spotlight, especially in Africa and globally because of the position it occupies in global affairs. Yes, so please do me a favor. If you have not followed me, follow me on TikTok. If you have not subscribe to our channel, please on YouTube, please do that. And for those on TikTok, if you want to join us on YouTube too, and our YouTube channel is at Nigeria Now on ONN, at Nigeria Now on ONN. If you search, use put it search for it on YouTube, you easily catch it, and then be part of this. But if you want to remain on TikTok watching, please do so. But do us one very, very important favor. We are not asking for a lot of things. What we are asking for is support. We are a revolutionary movement, and our job is to wake the young people of the world, starting with Nigeria and Africa, about the challenges that they face in their generation and the need for them to come together and save the world from corrupt and morally bankrupt politicians from everywhere on the surface of this earth that do not care about humanity but just themselves. They are very, very selfish. They don't care about the younger generation. They want to exterminate them before their time. That's what Bob Marley said. Kill them before they grow. They grow. His album that they call "I Shot the Sheriff." So you know what I'm saying. So let us come together. We can unite the world for good. The Almighty made the world, to be a very beautiful place. He said the world is supposed to actually the earth is supposed to be the heaven. Yeah, heaven that we know we're practically involved with it, and we don't have to die before we can go to heaven because according to what they lied to us about it, heaven is here, but God gave us the power, the dominion, He called it, to build it, to make it into the best place. But men controlling, corporations who want to, who are driven by profit, don't want us to be able to build that type of world. They create all kinds of confusion everywhere. And that is why the people of the world are not able to get together. Wars everywhere, strifes everywhere, hunger, starvation. We can't even unite to prevent a flood or save those who are victims of flood. We are burning the world down because we hate the environment because of profit. So please, if you are joining us now, do us a favor, share this broadcast, get more people involved. And the topic of discussion is Nigeria. Nigeria is in trouble, big trouble, because of the series of bad choices that the people of Nigeria have been making. And it is going to impact the world if Nigeria is allowed to blow up. Nigeria is the sixth largest producer of crude oil, but we don't have anything to show for it. Still, Nigeria imports finished product, refined products for what they produce right behind their back doors. Is that not disgraceful? Why is it? Because of the tragedy of leadership, tragic failure of leadership. Have you seen a people who will open their eyes and deliberately elect a drug dealer, a certificate forger, an identity thief, and a terrorist as their president and vice president, respectively? Have you seen a people who have a whole national assembly populated by entirely criminals and some of the most redundant people, mentally retarded, who cannot think good of their country, who cannot do anything to better their own lots? Yes, They steal money from Nigeria, go to America, go to Europe, go to Dubai to buy choice homes, and leave their country like a sorry burial ground. It's so sad what Nigerian politicians have been doing. The Nigerian elites, in politics, in the traditional institutions, and the corporate Nigeria, they are the worst. Those who fleece their country to be put on Forbes magazine as some of the richest people on the surface of the earth. These are the people we are targeting. Now, what is taking place is now, we see what is taking place around Africa. It started with Burkina Faso, with a young man, 35-year-old Ibrahim Traore, becoming the president. If he was in an election, he will never win. He will never even get close to the ballot. Not to talk about winning to become the president. He had to do it as a military officer because he's angry that his country and his continent is being degraded to benefit imperial forces. Yes, while the people there are hungry, they infest the continent and the countries with terrorists and terrorist movements, disrupting and making the countries and Africa dysfunctional. This is what we have to stop. So he spearheaded it, now leading Burkina Faso, within a short space of time. Look at the giant strides he has taken. The Burkina people now have hope, in their country. They have confidence in their country. They have confidence once again in their leadership. But it can't stop there. Then the Malians did what they had to do to remove themselves from the stranglehold of the drivers of Imperial France. Yes, they did that. And then Niger woke up and did that, expelled France from their country. And they are now battling the terrorists. Yeah, some of them have African skin. I think we can deal with them. And Senegal joined through an election, electing Mr. Faye. And he's doing great. But this will not complete if the rest of Africa does not wake up. And they called Nigeria, where I was born 62 years ago, the giant of Africa. There's nothing, absolutely nothing to show that Nigeria actually is a giant. Not because it's not gigantic in size, not because it doesn't have that massive population of over 250 million people that are incapacitated. If you like, be 1 trillion people. If your people have no capacity, your number makes no sense. That is what Nigeria is. Yes, look at Israel. Israel is about 10 million people, but they are capacitated. The people there have capacity. That is why they are where they are. They can smoke out Africa in a second. Yeah, Israel can smoke out Africa in a second because they have capacity. They build capacity. African leaders hate building capacity. African leaders are corrupt, morally bankrupt. Yes, they are always mostly puppets, yes, of outside forces. And these are people who are supposed to have learned from their history, the history of slavery, the history of, I would say, yes, 700 of years of Arab slavery, and then 400 years of European slavery, making it a total of 1,100 years of slavery of the African people. And those who were enslaved by the Arabs for 700 years, all the males were castrated. And yet these people came back and brought us their economic religion, loaded with economics and a very little of God. Something that we met before them. They stole it from us and brought them to us, and they are using it today, yes, to oppress us. When will Africa wake up? You see what is taking place in Kenya? Kenya is boiling, and it's going to be an African winter, whatever we call it. We had the Arab Spring, but I hope what is taking place, what is moving around in Africa, will turn around the continent for the good of its own people. So that is the story of today. Yes, Africa has been through what? Slavery, colonialism, yes, imperialism, apartheid, yes, and now globalization, which they believe is their meal ticket for them to occupy, for keeps Africa, and then enslave 1.5 billion Africans. And here comes Nigeria. being led all around by criminals. This is where we are today. And I hear the Nigerian youths are coming together. They are proposing to start a 10-day days of rage starting on August 1st, 2024. And this is the reason we are jumping in. Because the Nigerian youths have made so many declarations in the past, with none coming to a conclusion. Now, in 2017 or thereabout, when France elected Macron, a 35-year-old at the time, as president of France, the Nigerian youths came up with this big slogan, "Youths take over, youths take over." And we all fell for it. We were ready. We put everything together to support the youth takeover movement in Nigeria. But by mid 2018, ahead of a presidential election, or ahead of a general election, the youth takeover movement died. And that was the last we heard about it. The same youths who were talking about youth takeover, lying behind their oppressors, who know next to nothing about leadership and leading a people. And they came together and elected one of the worst ever in Nigerian history as president. I'm talking about Muhammadu Buhari. The Nigerian youths put him in power. A terrible, horrible, nepotistic, and a religious extremist. They put him in power. To say that he doesn't know or he didn't know about Boko Haram and the Fulani headsmen that are now ravaging Nigeria, to say that he didn't know anything about them would be most funny for anybody, especially those from the outside world. Yeah, those from the so-called advanced world. Yes, who claim that they are fighting terrorism, but they created terrorism in Africa. They knew about him. And that was why when Bazoum of Niger was ousted, he was having sleepless nights because he was in cahoot with him and France. Yes, because of the Chad Basin economics. When I first raised the issue of what France was doing in that part of Africa, Facebook disabled my account because within the first 1 hour, over 60,000 views of my report. They shut down that report, shut down my Facebook account for speaking the truth. But today, I am vindicated. The whole world knows about what France has been doing in Africa. And the reason why we love the French people, we are talking about the drivers of their government. That's the reason why France and its interests all over Africa must be expelled. And that's the reason why Imperial Europe, with all their funds in Africa, must be expelled from the continent. For the true owners of the continent to reposition and bring forth a new Africa to the global stage, where we can deal with the rest of the world as equals and no more as a conquered people. This offends some people. They don't want to hear it. This offends some people whose ancestors sat down in Berlin in 1884 to balkanize a continent that they knew absolutely nothing together and created the disasters we call countries, some of which were actually not up to a city in their countries. They knew the reason they did what they did. And this is the reason why Africa must come together to build one country in line with the vision of our founding fathers, who proposed a United States of Africa with one economy, with one central bank, with one military, and without borders. An Africa that will be welcoming to the rest of the world who want to genuinely come and do business like it is done in their own parts of the world. That is what we are fighting for. And that is why we are talking about creating a new African order. And it must come to pass. But it will not come to pass without the active involvement of the young people in Africa, without the young people in Nigeria rising up and divorcing themselves from the ugly generation that has brought their country on its belly. An ugly generation that has lost integrity. An ugly generation that is morally bankrupt and treasonously corrupt. An ugly generation that will look the other way as their country is being destroyed. An ugly generation that is inhumane, insensitive, and irresponsive to the yearning of its people. An ugly generation that does not care about the future of its next generation. That is why we are here today. That is why I am making this strong broadcast, reminding the young people of Nigeria about how many slogans that they have made in the past that never came to fruition. And now they are back with another one. After the NSAS, which ended when it was very close for them to achieve their objectives. I remind you again today that as you plan or as you finalize plans for your rage, you said rage, 10 days of rage. We hope that you will rage with patriotism in your mind. We hope that you rage with a clear understanding of your plight, your deplorable state in Nigeria today in mind. We hope that you rage with the understanding that your future is in peril in mind. We hope that you rage with the intention of going all the way and not be distracted by them opening food stores across the country like they did in the past. When you became distracted. Instead of fighting for your liberation, you started fighting for food. We hope that you will not once again go to the streets to start cooking, to start killing live cows, to start drinking as if it was a party, or as if it is a party, or as if it's going to be another carnival. Protest for survival, protest for liberation are things of sacrifices. What the people need to be seeing is your sweat. What the people need to be seeing is not to see you smiling and partying and dancing. We don't want you to carry bands, live bands. No. If you don't know what to do, I know the internet has made it possible for the world to be connected. Go and start talking to your peers in Kenya. Talk to your peers in Burkina Faso. Talk to your peers in Niger. Talk to your peers in Mali. Talk to your peers in Senegal. Thankfully, the president of Senegal is one of you. The president of Senegal is one who identifies with your plight. The president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, is one that has spoken profusely about the plight of the young people in Africa. So you have those resource persons. If you want to ask questions, feel free to call me. Seek my advice, seek my opinion. I will tell you, I am one of your biggest advocates in Nigeria because I'm not corrupt like most activists in Nigeria who will shout because they want recognition for appointment into political offices, who will shout because they are looking for money, they are broke. And once they are settled, they keep quiet and singing praises. I'm not the type of Festus Keyamo. I am not the type of Femi Falana. I am not the type of Wale Soyinka. I am not the type of Bayo Nanoga. I am not the type like many that you know. It's time for you. Don't move as if you are doing anybody a favor. Don't get into this protest if you know you are not sure. If you know you don't mean it, don't go there and waste your time and waste the time of the people of Nigeria once again. If you know you are not going to go all the way, don't venture out. If you know you are going to be afraid of soldiers shooting you, don't venture out because they are going to deploy soldiers. Typical of retarded African leaders. They will roll out the tanks. I'm warning you ahead of time. They are going to fire those shots like they did before in Lagos at the Lekki toll gate, where they killed hundreds of young people and buried them in shallow graves 2 years after, with no compensation paid and with nobody held accountable. And those killings were done on behalf of the drug dealer, on behalf of the certificate forger, on behalf of the identity thief, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to pave way for his presidency that is killing the whole of Nigeria. He came in a military coup. He did not win an election. How could he be a president of Nigeria? I reject him. When a night before the presidential election, the chairman of the electoral umpire was at his home eating and drinking. And when it was over, he was flown in Bola Ahmed's Tinubu's private jet back to Abuja. You all saw it on the internet. It was all over the internet. That would have been enough to seize Nigeria by you when he made that announcement declaring the criminal president of Nigeria in the middle of the night when everybody was sleeping. You lost yet another major opportunity to retake your country. And hell would never have been let loose if you acted. You let that moment go. And then came another golden moment when they twisted at the Supreme Court the Constitution of Nigeria as it affects the status of Abuja. The people of Nigeria, especially you, the youths, kept quiet, and that sealed the deal. And I feel sad hearing some of you telling me about 2027, when in fact we are still in 2023 electorally or politically. What kind of a country? What kind of a country do we have? When the Oba of Lagos violated his ancestors' tradition of Oro that was reserved for the night, and he performed Oro in the daytime to target the citizens from a section of the country, to prevent them from exercising their franchise, their rights to vote in Lagos. We started hearing that Lagos belonged to the Yorubas and no more to Nigeria. What a Nigeria. And this is the reason you, young generation, must divorce yourselves from a tribalistic, a divided, and a religious nationalist Nigeria. You must make that bold step. Take that bold step like the young Kenyans did. When they told their parents, they told them, this is not your generation. This is not your business. Stay out of it. And they obeyed. Their parents stayed out of the business. I want to see the young Nigerian people who will be bold. Young Nigerian people from the east, west, north, and south, who will be bold in unison to tell their parents, stay out of this. This is not your generation. I want to see them. Do we have them? Are we about to see a magic in Nigeria? Are we about to see a turnaround in Nigeria? Are we going to see a movement populated by Nigerians from all over Nigeria? I'm talking about the north. The north, where some people have created a phantom nation out of the sovereignty of Nigeria. A country that their country is always in conflict with the general sovereign Nigeria. I am talking about the north. Those who call themselves northerners, are they going to come and be Nigerian for once? And unite as one people with one common enemy, the elites in Nigeria. You find them from the traditional institutions. You find them from the political class. You find them from corporate Nigeria. You find them from the obnoxiously corrupt religious leadership. Are we going to see a generation, powerful generation, strong generation, mentally capacitated, intellectually advanced enough to say, hey, we are done with the Nigeria of the old. We are done with old English Nigeria. We want to build a true Nigeria with genuine potential for nationhood and greatness. Are we going to see that organic unity that will take Nigeria from its current very stark darkness and hopelessness? Are we going to see that? These are the questions. Are we going to see young people from the north of Nigeria who will not go and be taking permission from the Sultan, the Fulani Sultan of Sokoto, and his emirs across the north? Are we going to see young Yoruba Nigerians who will not be listening to the Oni of Ife and their Obas, mostly corrupt? Are we going to see young Igbos of Nigeria? Yes, the Igbos who have suffered more than every group in Nigeria. Are we going to see them come out and tell Iwayan, you cannot tell us anymore to stay away because it's not our business, because it is we that everybody is going to be targeting? Are we going to see those Igbos? Are we going to see Hausas, young Hausas, whose ancestors were victims? Yes, whose ancestors were victims of Madame Fodio's invasion in 1804. And since which time they have been victims of subjugation for a total of 220 years, this 2024. Are we going to see Hausas, young Hausas, step up and say, this is going to be the end of our slavery in our own land? As we speak, there are over 20 million young Hausas between the age of 6 and perhaps 15. 20 million of them out of schools. They are denied access to education. They are denied access to opportunity of any kind. They have been reduced to beggars in their country by a minority. Yes. Are we going to see young Hausas joining hands with young Igbos, joining hands with young Yorubas, joining hands with young Benis, joining hands with young Ibibios, joining hands with young Fulanis who are truly patriotic, who want to build a Nigeria, and not the type of Fulanis who follow Buhari and the Bodejo. Yes, the head of the Mieti terrorist organization. Are we going to see them come together in unity for one Nigeria? Are we going to see the young Nigerians from my Niger Delta who have been victims since 1956 when oil was found first in Oloibri, for which we have not benefited anything but abject poverty and environmental degradation and worsening health situations? Are we going to see them coming out together without anybody paying them, without expecting anyone to pay them to buy, to put them in buses to go and protest, to buy them food? Are we going to see those young Nigerians? These are the questions for the people of Nigeria. Are we going to see young Nigerians who will not look anymore up to the like of Doyin Okukpe for leadership? A man who is neither here nor there, just for the sake of what he gets. Are we going to see the reconfiguration and the redefinition of leadership in Nigeria? Are the Nigerian youths, will they be resilient enough to resist the intransigence of the country's security forces, whose drivers don't even know their constitutional responsibilities? Are we going to see a replication of the type of youths that we have been seeing in Kenya, who have brought Ruto down into his simplest form? They asked for everything. Everything they had asked has been given. But they're asking for one thing left: his resignation. And with the way things are going, they are most likely to get it, unless they decide to back down. Are we going to see such Nigerians? Are we going to see Nigerians who will not stop complaining of hunger in the land, but they are yet unwilling to do anything to end their hunger? Are we going to see a new set of Nigerian young people who will say, this is about me, who will say, this is about our generation, who will say, this is about our future, and this is about the future of our own unborn children? Are we going to see them file out, even as hungry as they may be, even as deprived as they may be, even as bad as things may be for them? Are we going to see them file out to say this one time, enough is enough? Are we going to see the Nigerian young people who will hold their guns and their honor to the end? Are we going to see them? These are the questions for the young people of Nigeria, especially those organizing this planned protest. Are we seeing you? Are we going to see some real courageous Nigerians who are not going to be afraid of being arrested? Because they will come with their chains. If I told you that they are not going to come with their guns, they are not coming with their handcuffs, they are not coming with every instrument of brutality and repression, I'll be lying to you. So that is why it is important for me to tell you, before you set out, consider all these options. If you are a coward, this is not for you. If you hate Nigeria, this is not for you. If you want to live forever, protest is not for you. If you don't want to die, activism is not for you. For an activist, there are two things: the grave and jail. All right? So you have to make that choice. Now, but know that in every country that became great, some people made some sacrifices. In the United States, where I am, a lot of people made sacrifices. You will hear about Martin Luther King Jr. You hear about Malcolm X. You heard about Du Bois. You heard about Booker Washington. You heard about all of them. They made sacrifices because they didn't want to live under subjugation. And they didn't want those after them to suffer their own fate. Are you willing to make such sacrifices? You heard about Marcus Garvey. Yes, he was the one who who inspired most Pan-African leaders. He was the one who inspired the talk about independence.